You, Lac Lam Vien, are sweetly smiling to yourself, completely unaware that since leaving the milk tea shop, Duhan has been holding your hand without letting go until you were led into the taxi, and only then did you snap back to reality. You hurriedly say to take you home first, and Duhan laughs, finally coming back to his senses, thinking, what were you spacing out about? Lac Lam Vien, you wouldn't dare to say the truth, just holding tightly onto your milk tea, saying, no, it's nothing. You just said I could manage you, so tonight you have to be good and sleep early. Duhan looks at you with eyes full of affection, and Lac Lam Vien, feeling a bit smug, lifts his chin. From now on, you have to listen to me. Duhan replies, not quite agreeing with you, saying, it depends on what it is. Lac Lam Vien immediately gets hit back to his original self, sulking like, what the heck? Just hearing this makes you pull out your phone and start typing away? You send Duhan a series of emojis, but since there are outsiders around, it's not convenient to talk. However, chatting secretly on WeChat is still okay, right? Duhan just replies with a simple, Lac Lam Vien asks, does your sister know about us? You noticed, right? Duhan remains indifferent, responding with just, Lac Lam Vien isn't happy and frowns. Can't you add a few more words? Like, for example, Duhan obediently types, But Lac Lam Vien still isn't satisfied, feeling that Duhan's kind of response is really hard to get used to. He makes him go back to giving short replies. Duhan holds the phone in his hand, almost wanting to sigh. Yet on the other side, Lac Lam Vien continues, you've secretly liked me for a long time, haven't you? I knew it. Who brings someone home on the first meeting? Duhan stays silent, not even able to type a response before Lac Lam Vien sends another message. That's why you keep rejecting me. Are you afraid you can't control yourself? In Duhan's mind, 3 black crows fly past, and he finally blurts out, I'm afraid I can't control myself. Receiving that reply, Lac Lam Vien blushes, feeling embarrassed. Originally planning not to reply, but can't help but text back, hey, pay attention, I'm in a taxi. But if you secretly hold my hand, that should be okay, right? Just after sending that, you reach over and wave your hand in front of Duhan's face, worried that in the dark car, he can't see. Following a soft laugh, your hand gets grabbed, fingers intertwined, the thumb gently rubbing against your palm, sending tingles through you. Before you can even close your palm, the back of your hand gets a gentle kiss. Passing by a street full of lights, Lac Lam Vien feels his whole body go soft. Just hearing Duhan softly say, sweetly, the kiss on the back of his hand makes him feel like blooming flowers in his heart, foolishly dizzy like a princess. Duhan takes you all the way to the apartment complex, but still wants to follow him out of the car to take his boyfriend home to the door. However, just as you lean halfway out of the car, he presses you back in. Be good and sleep early. Lac Lam Vien looks at him with a pout. Let me see you home, okay? The cold, indifferent man flatly refuses. Have you finished your homework? Have you checked if it's done? Remember I said I would check, right? There's really no romantic atmosphere left at all. Thinking about the test he only did half of, Lac Lam Vien starts to pretend to be pitiful. Are you really going to punish me? I'll walk you home, okay? The cold, indifferent guy straight up rejected me. Have you finished your homework yet? To check if it's done, remember I said I would check, right? There's really no romantic vibe left at all. Thinking about the test, I've only done half of it. Lac Lam Vien starts pretending to be pitiful. Are you really going to punish me? I'm the cute little boyfriend of An, and Duhan just casually said, are you really going to close the door like that? Then just add another punishment. From this part, admin will fix the way the two little ones address each other, okay? The car just wouldn't start. When the rearview mirror no longer reflected Duhan's figure, Lac Lam Vien suddenly remembered the injury at his ankle. In his bag, there was still a spray he forgot to give him, so he hurriedly told the driver to turn around. The car just backed up to the gate, and Lac Lam Vien got out and ran a few steps before spotting Duhan's back, who was originally just walking normally. Now in front of him, he was staggering slowly, and at that moment, Lac Lam Vien realized that Duhan had been trying to act normal in front of him. His heart suddenly ached, but he didn't call him back, just silently watched him go. It was only when Duhan fully entered the apartment complex that he turned back. The car clearly knew he was injured, yet he still had to pretend like nothing happened in front of him. Struggling so hard, no wonder he didn't let him take him all the way to the door. This person always had this strange sense of pride, but this time, Lac Lam Vien could understand, because no one wants to expose their weakest, most embarrassing side in front of someone they like. In fact, he wanted to tell Duhan that even if he showed his weakness, he wouldn't hate him, but would only love him more, want to protect him more, love him even more. The next day, Lac Lam Vien was hugging his phone tightly, rolling around in bed sweetly. He sent a WeChat message saying he wanted to go to school with Duhan. He replied quickly that he was at the hospital and would be at school later, telling him to go ahead. Lac Lam Vien refused, insisting on going to the hospital to find him. Duhan couldn't change his mind, so he told him to wear a jacket before coming over. Lac Lam Vien smiled with squinty eyes, put down the phone, curled up in the blanket, rolled over, and stretched. Indeed, love can conquer sleepiness. Lac Lam Vien murmured that, feeling like he was falling in love and was about to become a little poet. When Lac Lam Vien just arrived at the hospital, from afar, Duhan had already spotted the handsome guy trying to dress up. He called out teasingly, "Why are you so dressed up today? Planning to meet someone?" Duhan wanted to take the stuff from his hands, but Lac Lam Vien remembered the injury on his leg. He wasn't fully recovered yet, so he just reached out his hand. Duhan thought he wanted to hold hands, but unexpectedly, as soon as their hands touched, Lac Lam Vien pulled him. His warm body leaned against Duhan's arm. He looked around. All good, there was no one around. He tiptoed and lightly kissed his cheek, sweetly saying, "Good morning, Teacher Du. Today, your student Lac is here to be your little cane." Duhan was stunned for a long time before responding. "What nonsense are you saying? You? I'm not talking nonsense. You just hurt your foot a few days ago, and people say it takes 100 days to heal from a sprain. You're not Superman. How can you recover so quickly?" So the 1,000-mile princess brought warmth to the hospital, wanting to be a little cane, thinking Duhan would refuse. He was even planning to use his boyfriend status to pressure him when he suddenly felt Duhan's arm pull away from his hand. Then he wrapped around his shoulder, pulling him close, enveloping him in his arms, and he could even feel Duhan gently rubbing his chin against his hair. "This is how you call it leaning on a little cane? This is more like hugging." Duhan still took the stuff from his hands, holding it neatly in one hand and not letting him protest. He glanced at his right hand. So, the princess from 1,000 miles away brings warmth to the hospital, wanting to be a little crutch, thinking she would be rejected by Du. Han refused, and while trying to use the boyfriend card to pressure me, suddenly I felt his arm pull away from mine. Then he went around my shoulder and pulled me in. He hugged me tightly, wrapping me up in his arms, and I could feel him gently brushing my hair with his chin. I have to be like this to be called a little crutch? What else can you call this? Clearly, it's a hug. Duhan kept taking things from my hands, carrying them all in one hand without letting me protest. He glanced at my right hand. "While you were chilling, you placed your hand on his waist, and Lac Lam Vien was left speechless, while Duhan stared intensely at his slowly reddening neck. He softly said, "Aren't you supposed to support me? All you need to do is wrap your arms around my waist. Nothing else is required." After saying that, he noticed you didn't respond. Duhan thought maybe he was being a bit too hasty. Earlier, he had emotionally hugged this silly kid as a support, and now he wanted him to wrap his arms around his waist. This pace was a bit fast. Was Lac Lam Vien sulking? But, at that moment, your hand slowly moved in, tightening around his waist. Your ears flushed red. He really was too good at this love game. "Come on, just tell me, how many loves have you had before me?" Duhan grabbed your hand, pressing it back onto his waist, holding on tight, or else he might just fall over. Lac Lam Vien pouted, thinking to himself, "What a trickster. Clearly he was fine last night," Duhan said in a low voice. "I've dated once before." Before he could finish, Lac Lam Vien interrupted sharply, his tone dripping with vinegar. "I know, it was the school beauty, right?" He stared at you, noticing Lac Lam Vien, avoiding his gaze. He added, "Even the teacher liked you." Lac Lam Vien immediately raised his hand. "Who are you calling a magnet for attention?" "You're the April canola flower!" Duhan pretended not to understand, explaining that the canola flower attracts bees and butterflies. "You're the type that attracts all the butterflies." Duhan pretended to be serious, but Lac Lam Vien looked panicked, and before he could ask more, Duhan gently touched your forehead, laughing. "You even attract me, and the teacher is Lam Vien." Hearing this made him happy, thinking to himself that Duhan really had good taste, and he didn't forget to praise him. Men in love are incredibly handsome, especially the man who loves you. "Can I come find you for lunch?" Duhan was getting used to your style, but before he could answer, Lac Lam Vien hurriedly added, "If it feels too obvious, let's meet somewhere with fewer people." Duhan's face immediately darkened. "You want to keep our love a secret?" You almost choked, stammering, "We probably can't go public." Duhan didn't respond, making you think he was angry. Lac Lam Vien felt like he was back in the past. Clearly it had just been sweet for less than a day. You hurriedly explained, "If you want to go public, it's not impossible. But when my parents find out, if they kick me out, you'll have to support me." Finally, Duhan smiled, ruffling your hair like a mischievous child, messing up the hair you spent half an hour styling, leaning down to kiss your temple. "Don't worry, it's okay if we don't go public. Teacher Du will protect you after La Kong Chua, and Teacher Du are together, your lovesick expression was immediately seen through by Feng Tiu. He looked at Lac Lam Vien as if waiting for someone to ask him to spill the tea, and said, "If there's something, just spill it." Lac Lam Vien lowered his voice as if about to reveal a shocking secret. "I'm in love." Feng Tiu almost screamed. "So what happened? Tell me all the details. Does Teacher Du really mean it?" Lac Lam Vien pouted. "You can't call him Teacher Du anymore. He's my personal teacher." Feng Tiu was totally cringing from your lovey-dovey tone, trying to provoke you. "He messed up my hair like a naughty kid, the kind I spent half an hour grooming, then leaned down and kissed my temple. Don't be scared. It's okay if it's not public. Teacher Du will protect you." After Lac Kongchua and Teacher Du are together, your love-struck look was immediately seen through by Feng Tiu. He looked at Lac Lam Vien like he was waiting for someone to ask him to spill the tea, then said, "If there's something, just spill it already." Lac Lam Vien lowered his voice as if about to reveal a shocking secret. "I'm in love." Feng Tiu almost screamed. "Then what happened? Hurry up and tell me all the details. Does Teacher Du really bend that way?" Lac Lam Vien pouted, saying, "I can't call him Teacher Du anymore. He's my personal teacher." Feng Tiu was cringing from his overly lovey-dovey tone, trying to tease him. "Spill the tea for me, girl." "So Mr. Du really is a total softie, huh?" Lac Lam Vien pouts, saying, "I can't call him Mr. Du anymore. He's my personal teacher now." Feng Tiu is totally cringing from that lovesick voice of yours, trying to get on your nerves, babe. "Alright, from now on, I'll call him Du Duhan, Du God, Du Cool Guy Lac Lam." Vien frowned and hesitated for a moment, like he was really suffering before finally saying it. "Just call him Teacher Du, and you'll get the story." At the tattoo shop, he briefly shared. After hearing it, Feng Tiu clicked his tongue. Then he smiled brightly. "Can't you see it? Teacher Du is quick and precise, totally on point. Teacher Du already knew you liked him." Lac Lam Vien was taken aback by this. Scared. "How could that be?" Feng Tiu insisted. "If he didn't see it, then how would he dare to kiss you? Not scared you'd slap him? Oh, and the whole school is spreading rumors that he's harassing straight boys? Teacher Du isn't that impulsive." Lac Lam Vien's tail immediately perked up. "So proud. Could it be because of the tattoo? I've already tattooed him on my body. Only a fool wouldn't see he's top-tier material." Feng Tiu splashed cold water on him. "Then you better hit the books. Do it properly. Teacher Du already knows he'll get into a prestigious school. If you go to college and drift apart, it'll be tough later." Vien immediately deflated, just starting to fall in love, hasn't even done anything bad yet, and he's already being pushed. Studying hard, like totally overdoing it. Feng Tiu had a serious face like a parent, dragging him out. "What's this talk about bad stuff? What else are you planning to do? Didn't you just kiss yesterday?" "Right, Lac Lam Vien. You're really good at breaking boundaries." As soon as he heard about yesterday, Lac Lam Vien's face turned bright red. "Back when I liked Hafu, weren't you gossiping every day? So now when it's Duhan, you're saying there are limits?" Feng Tiu fell silent for a moment, feeling like he realized he was being a bit of a hypocrite, but this good bro of his has been straight for 18 years. And now he's suddenly bent, plus the speed is so fast it's like he's sinking deep. They say he's clean freak, but it's not. Teacher Du is totally perfect, including that part. Lac Lam Vien had no idea what Feng Tiu was thinking. Just a bunch of junk in his head. To him, bad stuff is simple. Just love, light kisses, sneaky hand-holding, and dating. The school bell just rang, and he immediately grinned like a fool. He dashed straight to the classroom, to wait for Duhan. Duhan stepped out with his bag, and as soon as he entered Vien's sight, his eyes lit up like fireworks. But, right behind him, Duhan was with Num Toot, so the light in his eyes was snuffed out. Duhan walked up to him, waiting for him. Lac Lam Vien pretended to look elsewhere, his mouth stiff, just passing by. Duhan gave him a piece of milk candy, the same kind he insisted on buying last time. Then, at home, he held the candy in his hand, quickly walked towards the school gate. Duhan didn't chase after him. When Lac Lam Vien turned around, he saw him still walking leisurely, with Num Toot. Actually, Duhan was discussing finding a caregiver with Num Toot. Num Toot said someone from his hometown recently came to look for a job, and has a lot of experience taking care of the elderly. The two confirmed the interview time. After that, Num Toot looked up and caught Lac Lam Vien's gaze directed at them, looking a bit sad. Num Toot, being a radar for feelings, had sensed something was off with Lac Lam Vien for a while. Sure enough, this guy likes Duhan. Otherwise, how would he look at them like that? It's like catching your boyfriend cheating. Just then, Lac Lam Vien strode over confidently. Num Toot's heart raced, thinking he would cause a scene, but unexpectedly, he just stuffed. The candy was quickly in Duhan's hands, and he spun around to run away, leaving Duhan stunned and unable to pull him back. Ben asked him what was going on, and Duhan replied that he was sulking because he and that person were getting to know each other. This one sentence made Enumtu's mind go buzz, as if the blood in his body had reversed. The calm and carefree attitude of Duhan when he said he was in love with Lac Lam Vien was the most devastating blow. He had no intention of hiding it and would never hide it. Even though he didn't immediately chase after him, he kept his eyes glued to the figure running away. Duhan quickly wrapped up the next task and lightly patted Numtu's shoulder, saying he would go ahead. Numtu forced a smile, saying it was fine. Go on, go! He watched Duhan's figure leave to chase after someone else. Inside, he felt an emptiness, as if witnessing that person completely leaving his long youth. The secret crush he had harbored for so long should have been buried deep down. He sighed and rubbed his red eyes. Goodbye, Duhan. Lac Lam Vien hurriedly squeezed into a corner as soon as he got into the car, wishing he could press himself against the edge of the seat to create a galaxy-wide barrier between him and Duhan. He waited for a long time, changing positions just so that when Duhan got into the car, he would immediately notice his sulking strategy. He still hadn't seen Duhan get in yet. He thought to himself, give him 5 more seconds. If he doesn't come in, I really will be mad. When he counted to 3 and 16, Duhan finally stepped into the car. Lac Lam Vien quickly prepared an angry expression, but before he could even make a mad face, his arm was pulled. His body, which was pressed against the wall of the car, slid out, firmly held by a hand. All his anger instantly dissipated. Instead, there was a deadly tension. He secretly glanced ahead and saw that driver Truong wasn't looking in the rearview mirror, and he breathed a sigh of relief. In the palm of his hand, Duhan's fingers lightly hooked and then released, leaving a warm sensation that faded from the back of his hand. Lac Lam Vien felt a bit disappointed, thinking that was it. Why didn't you comfort me a little more? He had no choice but to twist his neck and focus on the scenery rushing by outside the window, to the point where his neck was sore, yet he still didn't see Duhan making any moves. Just then, his phone in his pocket vibrated. He pulled it out to see a WeChat message from Duhan. Lac Lam Vien felt cold inside, thinking, well, now whatever you say won't comfort me. The message read, Vien, come back. He raised an eyebrow, feeling that changing from Tio Vien to Vien was just normal. Then another message came in. Bao boy. He turned around and was immediately stuffed with a sweet milk candy that melted from his tongue straight to his heart. Duhan even smiled at him, and that smile made Lac Lam Vien unconsciously lean closer, not even bothering to pay attention to driver Truong sitting in front. Leaning in, he whispered, What did you just call me? Duhan cleared his throat, his ears turning bright red. It was rare to see him flustered like that, which made Lac Lam Vien even more excited. He puffed his cheeks, chewing on the candy, his eyes filled with anticipation as he looked at him. You comfort me. Say it again, okay? And just like that, Lac Lam Vien turned into a clingy person. He even forgot about jealousy, just lingering and demanding Duhan to call him that way again, subtly pestering him since they were still in the car. The phone in my pocket vibrated. I pulled it out to see a WeChat message from Duhan. Lac Lam Vien felt cold inside. Yeah, now whatever you say won't soothe me. The message read, Vien, come back. I raised an eyebrow. From Tio Vien to Vien, it felt pretty normal. Then another message came in. Bao boy. I turned my head back and immediately got a sweet milk candy shoved into my mouth, the taste flowing straight to my heart. Duhan even smiled at me. That smile made Lac Lam Vien unconsciously lean closer, not even caring about the driver sitting in front. Suddenly, I'm hit with a sweet milk candy melting from my tongue straight to my heart. Duhan even gives me a little smile. That smile. Leaning in close, I whispered, What did you just call me? Duhan cleared his throat, his ears turning bright red. I rarely see him flustered like this, and it made my heart race even more. I puffed my cheeks, chewing on the candy, my eyes full of anticipation looking at him. You have to soothe me. Say it again, okay? So, Lac Lam Vien turned into a clingy person. Even jealousy was forgotten, just nagging him to call me that way since we were still in the car, subtly bothering him. Dude, I even forgot about jealousy, just kept bugging him to call me that way since we were on the bus, low-key annoying him. When he entered the extra class, he got even more rowdy, wrapping his arms around Duhan's neck, his whole body swaying like he was hanging on the teacher. Du was grinning mischievously. Call me one more time, I'm still mad at you. Duhan pretended to be nonchalant, saying, What are you mad about? I didn't even notice. I'm mad. Lac Lam Vien rubbed his face and neck against him, acting all cute. He didn't even realize I was angry. How ridiculous. I don't care. You have to call me once for me to stop being mad. Duhan hugged his waist tightly, his muscles firm like he was putting all his strength into it, but he still didn't realize. Dangerously continuing to act cute, he ended up being lifted off the ground by Duhan. He could only act like a child. His legs wrapped tightly around Duhan's waist, and he was roughly set down on the desk. The candy in his mouth was snatched away by him. His tongue felt tangled and numb, swollen and hot. His abs were squeezed painfully, his whole body shaking like he wanted to be eaten. It was hard for Du-han to finally let go of his mouth. He bit lightly on his ear and asked, "Do you want more?" Lac Lam Vien quickly covered his mouth like a scared little hamster, shaking his head. "No, no more." He kept shaking his head. "I'm out of candy, really out." He secretly pulled up his shirt to see if his waist was bruised. Little did he know, as soon as he did that, Du-han had already put his pen down and pulled his shirt back down, telling him not to mess around. He pouted. "My waist has been grabbed by you for so long, it hurts." Du-han immediately turned him around, wrapping his waist again. He took special care of him, making him laugh uncontrollably, tickled to the point of shaking, squatting down to hug his stomach. "Was that on purpose? I'm gonna die!" Before he could finish laughing, Lac Lam Vien went silent as he just saw Du-han's little friend. It was standing at attention, and he almost fell flat on the ground. On the contrary, Du-han calmly grabbed his hand and pulled him back to his seat. "Come on, I'll teach you what's in my head." Lac Lam Vien silently cursed in his heart with this situation. How could Du-han still teach? What if he accidentally made that happen while teaching? He became alert, his eyes darting around looking for an excuse. "I'm thirsty. I'm going downstairs to get some water. If you want to go to the bathroom, then go quickly." Du-han was calm and raised an eyebrow in confusion. "Why would I go to the bathroom? I don't need to use the restroom." "You don't want to use me, do you?" Just thinking about it made his face turn bright red. That thing would freak him out. If that really happened to him, he'd be dead. He hurriedly ran downstairs, gulping down a glass of ice water. Just then, he was caught by Uncle Nu and scolded. While he was embarrassed, he heard the sound of a car ringing outside. Uncle Nu looked at his bright, cheerful face and couldn't bear to scold him anymore. "Ben said the old man is back." Lac Lam Vien regained his composure and turned back to the room, only to find Du-han had finished the assignment, sitting straight and waiting. As soon as he saw him walk in, he called out, "Come here." Lac Lam Vien walked up to him, sneaking a glance down. Finally, he breathed a sigh of relief. Du-han noticed his gaze and jokingly said, "Next time, don't tease me again." "I won't tease you anymore, I swear." "I wouldn't dare, but in my heart, I still want to hear you call me baby a few more times." "What do I do?" Lac Lam Vien was flustered, not knowing what to do. Du-han saw that he was holding a paper bag and asked, "What do you have there?" Lac Lam Vien turned around and opened the bag, pulling out 2 boxes, opening them to reveal 2 identical fountain pens. Du-han looked at him in surprise. "Are you giving this to me?" He honestly explained, "It's a gift from my dad's friend. He heard you were here, so he gave it to me." "Add 1 more and you smiled just like a sneaky cat, feeling disappointed." "Huh? Thought I was giving you a couple's pen." Du-han couldn't help but look at you. "He pinched your cheek, but didn't want to use too much force. So he ended up kissing you for a long time, only stopping when you obediently complied. After that, he let you sit still and started lecturing." Remembering what Fung Tiu Lac Lam Vien asked him about which university he planned to take the entrance exam for, whether he was going to Beijing to study. Du-han didn't need to think. Not going too far from grandma, he wasn't at ease. Lac Lam Vien silently looked at him, put down his pen, and hugged him tightly. "Du-han, I'm feeling really uncomfortable." He immediately picked you up to sit on his lap, pulling your hands and legs, checking you all over. "What's wrong? Is there anywhere that doesn't feel right? Did you eat something wrong?" Lac Lam Vien shook his head, his nose feeling stuffy. "I'm heartbroken." Du-han understood what you meant, feeling both amused and silly. "What hurts? Actually, it's not a big deal. Grandma is always by my side, and now there's you too. Isn't that great?" That was indeed the most touching line. You almost melted in his arms, holding him tightly. He was like a sloth clinging to a tree, obediently whispering, "I told you, you will always be by my side. You can't chase me away. Even if you try to chase me, I won't leave." After saying that, you even gave him a quick kiss on both cheeks, whispering sweetly, "From today onwards, my darling will love you." Your heart was still filled with deep feelings. "At this point, what if I don't get into the same school as you?" Du-han didn't expect you to have such big ambitions. Lac Lam Vien widened his eyes. "You don't want to study with me, do you? Do you want a long-distance relationship so no one can manage you?" "Du-han," you pouted teasingly. "How great! Holding one person with one hand, looking at another, and having another in your mouth." Du-han was poked. "Girl, what nonsense are you talking about?" But thinking back, he felt if this could motivate you to study, then it wasn't bad. Ben said he wanted to study at the same school as him. At least he had to be in the top 50 of the whole block. "Right now, what's your rank?" 400. As soon as he heard about the top 50, Lac Lam Vien's eyes darkened. "Didn't you say you wouldn't take the Thanhua or Bakdai exams?" Du-han spoke cleverly but also very realistically. "The school you want to get into with your current grades is a bit difficult." Lac Vian thought about the only chance to study at the same school was if Du-han failed the exam. He immediately felt unlucky and didn't want to think further. In fact, he really hoped you could get into Than Hoa or Bak Dai. At worst, he would find some third-rate school in Beijing that accepted poor students. He would go in, and the tuition wouldn't matter since his family wasn't short on money. However, Du-han didn't plan to go to Beijing, and this really annoyed him. But in the end, he still respected your choice. Seeing your dejected look, Du-han felt reluctant. Gently rubbing your head, "It's okay. Teacher Du will help you." Lac Vian buried his face on the desk, asking softly, "Have you decided which university to go to?" This time Du-han was silent for a long time, finally saying, "University C." He breathed a sigh of relief, shocked to see you, struggling to speak. He thought it was some super difficult school. "Little Vian, I've passed the preliminary round of self-admission for University C, just waiting for the interview." Instantly, joy surged in your heart. "Great, my boyfriend is so amazing." You laughed while thinking back, noticing that Du-han's face showed no joy at all. And at that moment, you felt it wasn't simple. Du-han said, "Once I pass the interview, I won't need to go to school anymore." Lac Vian tried to digest the meaning of this statement, gradually unable to smile. "So will we still study together?" Looking at your pitiful appearance, Du-han softly said, "Please." University C, just waiting for the interview. Instantly, joy surged in your heart. "Great, my boyfriend is so amazing." You laughed while thinking back, noticing that Du-han's face showed no joy at all. At that moment, you felt it wasn't simple. Du-han said to wait. "Once I pass the interview, I won't need to go to school anymore." Lac Vian tried to digest the meaning of this statement, gradually unable to smile. "So, will we still study together?" Looking at your pitiful appearance, Du-han softly said, "Please." It's not like you need to apologize for trying to force a smile, Vian. Don't ever feel guilty for being so amazing, okay? That's not how it is. Plus, I'm sure University C isn't that bad, right? I've still got more than half a year to catch up, and I will. Du-han wavered slightly, and Vian promised, "I will catch up to you." He believed in her, but Du-han still felt a pang of concern and said, "Even if we're not in the same school, it's fine. You can come find me every weekend." He quickly shook his head. "Don't jinx it. You know I'm sure you won't pass, but what if you do? Don't underestimate me. I had pretty good grades in middle school. How else would I have gotten into this high school?" It was only when Uncle Nhu called for dinner that Vian remembered to tell him, "My dad says you should come eat with us." The two of them held hands as they went down, but when Du-han saw the man sitting at the dining table, it felt like a bucket of cold water was dumped over him. His blood felt like it almost froze. Laoding stood up and called him over, then turned to Du-han. "What are you doing standing there? Come sit." "Tio Vian must have bothered you a lot. I really have to thank you today." At first, Vian didn't notice anything strange, but quickly, he realized Du-han's excessive silence and the glances exchanged between his dad and that Quan Sak Fong. This meal was filled with questions aimed at Du-han. Even Du-han was bombarded with questions, to the point where Vian couldn't help but interject, "Dad, you keep asking. So much so that he can't even eat." Then burst into laughter. "Look at how much your dad talks. He just can't help it because your classmate is so impressive. If you want to show concern, just say it. Honestly, Du's grades are really good. Have you ever thought about studying abroad?" Vian immediately replied, "He's not thinking about that. Du-han already has a university he wants to go to." He passed the entrance exam for University C. Quan Sak Fong, who had been quietly drinking, suddenly confirmed the university. "Oh really? Which one?" Du-han didn't respond, and the atmosphere became awkward. Vian regretted wanting to bite his tongue off. Why did I even butt in? Du-han must be mad now. After dinner, Du-han took out a fountain pen from his bag. He walked straight up to Quan Sak Fong. "I think this belongs to you." Quan Sak Fong glanced at the pen and calmly said, "If you've accepted a gift from someone else, don't return it. It's very rude." Vian felt like he was choking. This guy was really something. "How rude? Can't you talk properly?" He could see Du-han's hand gripping the pen box tightly, turning pale. Du-han maintained his calm tone. "If you wanted to give it, you shouldn't have been so vague about it. If you had been clear from the start, I wouldn't have accepted it." Quan Sak Fong replied, "You'll have to accept it sooner or later." Du-han paused, his previous indifference no longer needed. "I don't need things like this from you anymore. They don't hold any value." Quan Sak Fong's expression remained composed. "At first, I thought highly of you. I thought you were a kid who understood the times, but you're still so naive and overly emotional." Du-han turned to leave. Unexpectedly, Quan Sak Fong's voice rang out behind him. "If you don't need all that, then what about that job?" "What about it?" Du-han's body trembled slightly. Quan Sak Fong intertwined his fingers, sitting straight on the sofa, smiling elegantly. "Someone as smart as you, don't you think?" You should know what this job is about just by hearing it. Quan Sak Fong knew Du Han well. Every word was loaded with meaning. Lam Vian couldn't understand it at all. Even though there were many things unclear, he wasn't blind. It was obvious that Quan Sak Fong was deliberately trying to pressure Du Han. It was just a rejection of a gift. Why did it need to be so sarcastic? You're too much. Du Han was merely rejecting a gift. Why did it need to be so sarcastic? You're too much. Seeing Du Han being treated like this, Lak Lam Vian smiled innocently. Sweetly and politely calling him Quan Uncle, Du Han is my teacher and also my best friend. If he was rude, I'll take the blame. He apologized, and Quan Uncle is an adult, so why make things difficult for a high school student? Besides, it wouldn't look good if it got out. Du Han moved slightly behind, as if wanting to step up, but Lak Lam Vian quickly hid his hand, standing firm. I don't know what job Quan Uncle gave him, but it's still a job, and you don't need to act like this, right? We're in a new era now, and superiors and subordinates should respect each other. Using work to control others is both lame and shameless. Lak Lam Vian still kept his innocent demeanor, but every word he said was completely unreserved, sharp and right in Quan Sak Fong's face. Even Quan Sak Fong, no matter how close he was to Lak Ding, he was still made to look bad at this moment. Anger flared up inside. Lak Ding quickly stepped up and shouted, Lak Lam Vian, go to your room now. Love in youth is always impulsive but also brave. He wanted to protect Du Han, even though he was really scared of disappointing his dad. Scared he wouldn't like him, but he still had to speak up. If you're an elder, you should act like one. If you don't respect others, how can you expect others to respect you? Lak Ding was so angry he was shaking. What? Go to your room now. You're the one being unreasonable. Lak Lam Vian's eyes were red, his voice choked. I know everything. And you all teamed up to bully my friend. A bunch of adults bullying a student. Dad is really disappointed in you. The blood in Lak Ding's throat felt like it was about to explode. He even wanted to strike out but hadn't had the chance yet. When he reached for his son, that hand was firmly held back by someone standing behind him. The strength of youth is strong. When their eyes met, Lak Ding was slightly startled. Indeed, he was the child of Quan Sak Fong. Those eyes were just like Quan Sak Fong's. In his youth, he thought of the illegitimate child who had wandered outside for so many years, yet still resembled Quan Sak Fong so much. No wonder he wanted to claim him back. Du Han slowly released his hand and placed it on Lak Lam Vian's shoulder. The gesture seemed to be a stop sign, but in the tense atmosphere, no one noticed the ambiguity and possessiveness hidden within it. Du Han spoke first. Mr. Lak, little Vian has a good starting point. Even though the words may be a bit harsh, you shouldn't take action against him in front of outsiders. Lak Ding's face stiffened upon hearing this. When did he ever plan to strike Lak Lam Vian? He clearly just wanted to take his son upstairs. Du Han turned to Quan Sak Fong again. Although I'm not sure how my job relates to you, if it's called a job, I put in effort to earn my pay. It's not something you get for doing nothing. I have no shame in my heart. After saying this, the corner of his mouth slightly curled, his tone cold. What about you? Mr. Quan, have you truly had no shame in your heart all these years? With that, he wrapped his arms around Lak Lam Vian's shoulders. Let's go, he said. Little Vian nodded. I still have my backpack upstairs. Let me go get it. Lak Ding saw the situation gradually, getting out of control, and shouted at his son, Where do you think you're going at this hour? Lak Lam Vian tightly held Du Han's hand, feeling a courage he had never felt before, his gaze rebellious. I want to. Run away from home. I won't let you support me into old age anymore. Lak Ding knew he couldn't stop him and could only smile bitterly. See? I'm running away from home. I won't let you raise me until you're old. Lak Ding knew he couldn't stop me, just had to smile bitterly. Did you see? It's not that I didn't help you just because of this, but my son argued with me to this extent. Then, the expression on Kwa's face darkened for a moment, and after a while, he said to Lak Ding, Back then, I didn't know Nam Nam. She was pregnant. Lak Ding sighed. We didn't know either, especially since you were abroad at that time. She didn't tell you. Deciding to give birth on her own was irresponsible, but if she doesn't blame you, then Lak Ding couldn't even speak. No matter how capable Nam Nam was, she couldn't give birth alone. The child of Kwan's family is indeed a tangled debt. No one can calculate it clearly, and the past is just that. The past, it can't be turned back. Lak Lam Vian wiped the sweat from his palms, and at this moment, he finally felt the tension. This was the first time he had argued fiercely with his father. Not that he regretted it. He was just panicking inside. Stepping out of Lak's house, his thumb felt the dampness of his palm. He gently asked, Are you scared? He immediately snapped back to reality, firmly replying, I'm not scared. I already said, I will love you. After hearing that, Du Han's eyelashes trembled slightly, immediately. They drooped down as if to hide his flushed cheeks. His whole face turned bright red, looking both shy and trying to suppress a smile, not daring to look directly at him. So cute, Lac Lam Vien's heart raced, pounding to the point of breathlessness. Du-han took him back to his house, also grabbing the t-shirt and shorts, the ones he wore last time, giving them to him as pajamas. This wasn't Lac Lam Vien's first time at Du-han's house, but it was the first time as a boyfriend. Still feeling tense, Du-han gave him a big, freshly washed towel, dried and ready to use. Lac Lam Vien instinctively buried his face in the light yellow towel, hugging it tightly and grinning foolishly. "You even bought me a towel, how did you know?" "I would come to your house, right?" Du-han asked. "Don't you like coming to my house?" He instinctively replied. "I do. I like you a lot. I also like your house." That confession was so natural and surprising that it made Du-han tighten his fist, bringing it to his mouth to pretend to cough. To hide it, then he said, "Hurry up and take a shower. I'll wait for you outside." Just that one sentence was enough to make Lac Lam Vien's face turn bright red, his heart pounding. He was no longer an innocent child, unaware of the world. This was Du-han's house, and tonight he would definitely stay over. So, should he prepare beforehand? While showering, he started to worry. Was it moving too fast? If Du-han wanted him, could he even refuse? Probably not. Sooner or later, he would have to go through it, and he wanted to. To have him completely, any version of him he wanted, his greed had no limits. After showering, Lac Lam Vien used the towel to dry his wet hair, his voice slightly nasal as he called out, "Are you cooking something?" Du-han came over, hugging him in the towel. Lac Lam Vien laughed as he was embraced. "What's up? Seeing me wear your clothes makes you feel something?" Sure enough, his mind was filled with unhealthy thoughts, but the next moment, Du-han popped his golden bubble. "Are you feeling uncomfortable because you just argued with Lac Tianxin?" He was taken aback, not understanding. Why did the topic change? He wrapped the towel around me, and Lac Lam Vien laughed when he hugged me. "What's up? Are you moved seeing me in your clothes?" Sure enough, my mind was full of unhealthy thoughts, but the next moment, Du-han popped my golden bubble. "Are you feeling uncomfortable because you just argued with Lac Tianxin?" I was stunned and didn't understand. Why did the topic suddenly change? Why is the topic changing again, though?